Okay, it's time for me to hand out the Kizarnywehrdlyknewye awards for the evening. And we're going to start off with the newly named. This is the Jeff Hardy Award for Worst Promo of the Week. That's right, we've named the Worst Promo Award after Jeff Hardy. We thought, as he's leaving WWE soon, it would be fitting to commemorate him in this way. So the Jeff Hardy Award for Worst Promo goes to, who could it be? Jeff Hardy, for delivering a promo which was basically gibberish. I mean, this was total nonsense. That is a song I wrote a long time ago and it still rings a bell. I mean, what are you talking about? This is so awful. I don't know why people cheer this. I mean, seriously. Honourable mention, of course, there were a lot of bad promos this week. Matt Hardy for trying to be sincere, and you know, he just has no talent. None. I mean, his face was totally expressionless. He can't do it. He's incapable. And then we had also John Cena for delivering a desperate promo. Truly desperate on Raw. He was trying to be so funny and none of it was funny. It was like a child telling jokes, and you know, then he was grabbing onto Josh Matthews and Josh Matthews was doing an awkward laugh, and it was, oh. Also, Tiffany and Courtney backstage segment in ECW just for being so appalling. But no, Jeff Hardy gets the Jeff Hardy Award for Worst Promo. Best Promo, Freddie Prinze Jr. and Santino Marella. For delivering a promo that was Freddie Prinze Jr. so heartfelt, Santino Marella so funny, for doing such a good job in... I always feel negative when I start watching Raw, and they managed to do a good enough job that after this promo I was like, okay, I'm quite happy to watch Raw now, you know, the promo was that good. Worst performer, John Cena. He went over the entire Raw roster of heels 2 weeks ago. This week he went over the faces, you know, all the faces got destroyed by Jericho and the Big Show, and then Cena just destroys Jericho and Big Show. Easy as that. Disgraceful. Also, his promo was awful. Best performer, no one stuck out in my mind really except for Freddie Prinze Jr. As I said before, I'd be quite happy for him to be a permanent GM for Raw. He was very, very good. I've very much enjoyed that. Worst moment is the Word Up segment, but specifically the bit where Jesse calls Chris Jericho Christina, because clearly they're still trying to get that over, and the pictures of Jericho in a dress and in a bra. Why are you humiliating Chris Jericho like this? I mean, Jericho is the best thing in your company. He really is. Why are you doing this? Honourable mention, of course, for worst moment goes to Cena going over the entire Raw roster and Matt Hardy's continued push. Best moment, Legacy. That's right, we're giving the best moment of the week to Legacy for destroying the DX reunion. I love this. Bobby loved this too. Just the fact they were so smug about it. Oh, it's DX, Michael Cole and Jerry the King Lawler. Oh, I love DX. Come back, suck it. Oh, and then Cody Rhodes and Ted DiBiase, people with no charisma at all, deliver a really effective beatdown. Brilliant. And if you don't like that choice, I've got 2 words for you. Too bad. Anyway. The Mike Adamle Award for Incompetence and Commentary goes to Michael Cole for this absolute beauty. This was brilliant. No fewer than 12 Hall of Famers have held the United States Championship, including The Rock. 2 things wrong with that. The Rock's not in the Hall of Fame, okay? That's obvious enough. The Rock's never held the United States Championship. This statement is true on no level. Now, we could be really generous and say he was talking about Don The Rock Morocco, who I researched because I thought he is in the Hall of Fame and he might have won the United States Championship at some point, and it turns out he did win the San Francisco version. But let's face it, this is Michael Cole. He was talking about The Rock. He's an idiot. Worst show of the week, Superstars. Totally bipolar show. 1 week it's very good, next week it's awful, and this week it was awful. Best show, Raw. This is not a bipolar show. Raw is terrible every single week, except this one. This week was awesome. I really enjoyed it. Freddie Prinze Jr. was good. The wrestling was good. You know, the last half an hour was pretty poor, but it was good. I enjoyed this Raw. Worst match, Mark Henry versus Chris Masters. That was appalling. Best match of the week. Right. Third place, Hardy Boyz and Morrison versus Punk and the Hart Foundation. This was a good match. Lots of good stuff happened here. It wasn't formulaic. I really didn't agree with the ending. I don't think Matt Hardy should go over at all. I don't think that achieves anything in the build up to SummerSlam. I just felt it was a stupid decision to get Matt Hardy over and to give him, basically it was Jeff giving Matt the rub, you know, from his popularity. That wasn't good at all, but this was a good match. There were lots of nice double teams on the Hardy Boyz and Morrison side. And, you know, pretty much everyone except Matt Hardy looked good in this. Second, Rey Mysterio and Cryme Tyme versus Chris Jericho, Big Show, and Dolph Ziggler. This match was good. I did enjoy it. I liked the finish a lot, which puts it ahead of the last match. It wasn't formulaic once again. It was good. You know, you didn't really know what was going to happen next. There were lots of interesting matchups and stuff like that. I enjoyed this match. But the best match of the week is comfortably the first match of the week. It wasn't a great match, but it was a very good step in the right direction. So the best match this week is Carlito versus Kofi Kingston. Really, really fun match. Really fast-paced match for the US title. We start off, Kofi does a couple of nice leapfrogs. Carlito gets frustrated. He's playing a good, vicious heel right now. The crowd aren't reacting to it at all, but he is doing a good job. And he just pushes Kofi out of the ring. Then there's a beautiful big boot by Carlito right into Kofi's face. Kofi does that great move I love of his, where he does that forward roll STO type move. That's great. He goes for the leaping mounted punches. Carlito gets out of the way, so he adjusts and turns into a crossbody. Awesome for a 2 count. Then Fulcrum City Blues. I think Christian stopped doing this move. Well, he's doing it less, certainly, because Kofi does it so much better than him. It's so much more fluid. Me and Bobby have both criticised Kofi in the past, but he's really, the last few weeks, he's been brilliant in the ring. Brilliant. Nothing sloppy about it at all. He's been brilliant. He also does a top rope crossbody on Carlito with a roll through. Carlito hits a nice neck breaker after Kofi went for Trouble in Paradise. And then Carlito gets frustrated that he didn't get the pin. He's very wide-eyed. He goes for the backstabber. Kofi gets out of the way, gets pushed off the ropes, and hits Trouble in Paradise on the way back. This was great. I'm not sure what they're going to do with Carlito now, whether his push is dead, but this was a great match. These two had very good chemistry, I think, judging by the last 2 weeks. Okay, a few Q&A questions. Big Chicago 01 asks, who is a worse commentator, Grisham or Striker? Well, I think you all know my answer to this. Todd Grisham is a much worse commentator. Todd Grisham is terrible. Matt Striker is actually quite a good commentator. But the reason I answered this question is, he says, for me it's Striker. I can't stand listening to him continuously trying to explain the pain of a submission hold or say everyone is talking about. It's so annoying and I can't watch ECW anymore solely because of him. I agree with this point, right? I don't know why he does this, but Matt Striker constantly says stuff like everyone is talking about, or earlier he said Yoshitatsu and Zack Ryder, he said experts are watching, and he seems to be suggesting he has this weird fictional world in which lots of people come up to him and talk to him in a really kayfabed way about wrestling. It's so odd. I mean, I don't know why he does it. There's so much hyperbole in the stuff he says. So yeah, I kind of see where you're coming from with that. But I actually think he's a good commentator. I like when he talks about the history of arenas and stuff like that. And I actually like when he talks about submission holds in that way. So yeah, and Grisham's fucking awful anyway, so never mind. And my beard's named Dave2 asks, if you could bring one wrestler from TNA and put them in any WWE brand show, who and where would you place them? I was going to say AJ to SmackDown, obviously, but then I actually thought Motor City Machine Guns to SmackDown again. First to rejuvenate the tag team division, and then Alex Shelley must become a single star. He is so good. He reminds me a lot of Chris Jericho. I've heard other people say that. And if WWE could get him and use him in a way that TNA are not, in the same way that WCW was not using Chris Jericho as any kind of main event or even upper mid-card player, if they could use Alex Shelley in the same way, that'd be great. So I'd say the Motor City Machine Guns to SmackDown.